Chairman.
Senator Toomey.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I would like to direct my questions to Ms. White. Thank you very much for being here. Thanks for taking the time to meet last week in my office. I enjoyed our discussion, and I appreciated that. First, just a quick follow-up on the rulemaking regarding Reg A in particular of the Jobs Act. And I know from both your testimony today and our discussion last week that you've made it clear that that's going to be a priority to get that done. I would just want to underscore how important that is now that we are almost a full year past the adoption of the Jobs Act. And unlike some of the regulations, rulemaking, such as some that come from Dodd-Frank, the Volcker Rule being a case in point, that are incredibly difficult, perhaps, in my view, impossible, Reg A is not like that. It's really straightforward and simple. So I hope you will use the very simplicity as a criteria for moving it up the list of priorities so that we could get that done soon. Do you expect that to be something that we could expect to see movement on in the very near future?
I appreciate your comment on that and our discussion. You know, I won't predict a time, but I will say that it strikes me as one that can be moved, and I'm committed to moving everything as quickly as possible. But again, as I said, some are easier to move and faster to move than others.
And that would be one of them.
Yes,
Okay,
at least from the outside looking in,
Yeah.
without question.
Great, thank you. I'd like to follow up a little bit also on the discussions about money market funds. And you mentioned earlier that you recognize the importance of the product. I wonder if you could just underscore the importance, especially to the commercial paper market, the marketplace that provides so much liquidity and funding, that is such an important source for investors, and the fact that there's no obvious alternative, certainly not in the short run, to the money market funds as the vehicle through which this occurred. Do you agree with that summary?
You know, I do, Senator. As I said, I haven't had the opportunity to discuss the internal discussion of the SEC with my fellow commissioners or the staff, but I have studied this issue, and I agree with your comments.
And you alluded earlier to the notion that since this is the area of jurisdiction and expertise of the SEC, that it makes sense that the SEC would be responsible for the rulemaking. I make no secret about my view that the FSOC has put a lot of pressure, external pressure, on the SEC, and I worry that the Commission might consider doing something in response to that pressure more than response to the needs of the industry. And I just wondering if you could assure us, since you'll have a seat on the FSOC as well as being the head of the SEC, your views on the importance of the SEC handling this.
Yes, it's an investment product. It's where the SEC has expertise, and I think they should take the lead. I think FSOC has been, from what I've been briefed on, a very useful forum for bringing the different regulators together on different issues. But with respect to the rulemaking here, I would certainly like and expect to see it come from the SEC.
Thanks. Furthermore, with respect to money market funds, I think you and I share the view that taxpayers shouldn't be at risk to bailing out a money market fund. And if a money market fund were to fail, it should fail. The investors should bear that risk, but taxpayers should not. Do you agree with that general principle?
Well, I guess I go back to the history in 2008, where you had the breaking of the buck of the reserve primary fund, and Treasury, did step in
Right.
to really guarantee the share price, which was to stop a run on the funds. You don't want to get to a run on the funds, I think. But I guess the reason that this is such a significant issue is to try to ensure, while preserving the product, that you don't run that risk going forward.
Well, right. And I know you're very well aware that incident happened in the context of a global financial meltdown. It was not caused by, it was not particularly concentrated in the money market funds. There were more serious and acute problems in other sectors as well. I think that's important. I also think it's important to note that throughout 40 years, this has been an extraordinarily safe and sound product. But here's a question that I have for you specifically. Is it your view that the role of the SEC is to make it impossible for a money market fund to break the buck?
I think it's the role of the rulemaking to guard against, while preserving the product, to guard against the systemic risk. I'm not trying to be not responsive to the question, but I think that is
But that's different
yeah,
than making it
no.
impossible for an individual
think-
fund to break the buck.
It's probably hard to make anything impossible.
But that shouldn't be the goal of the SE. My point is that the goal is to make sure investors are aware of risks that they're taking, but that this is an investment that does carry some level of risk, and that's okay.
I mean, there certainly is, there are risk with a lot of products, investment products. It's inherent in that. Again, I think the focus is on preserving that, but also dealing with the possibility of the systemic risk and run on the funds.
Okay. Well, I see I'm out of time, but I do have some follow-up questions I'll probably send to you. Thank you.
Senator Hagan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to both of our witnesses here today.